Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be in the kitchen and we are going to whip up a batch of chocolate chip cookies for the family. Thought I'd bring you along so we could hang out and spend some time, and for those who don't know how to make cookies from scratch, I can show you some tips and what to look for to make a better cookie. I just used the Nestle Toll House recipe that comes on the back of the bag. I found it makes for a great cookie. It's easy to use and I enjoy it, so why not? For this recipe we need to preheat our oven to 375 degrees. And I'm going to use both of my ovens to make this go faster. My top oven tends to work better when I go up 25 degrees, so I'm going to set it for 400 degrees. There we go. All right, we'll let those preheat while we get to mixing. What we're going to do first, now that we got our oven preheating, is I'm going to sift our flour, our salt, and our baking soda so that it's more fluffy. I've got my Farberware sifter, small sift without being too fine. You don't want the big chunks to get through there. And I'm just gonna sift it into a bowl that will fit nicely the ingredients I'm putting in. It's always a good idea to have a bowl or a compost dish handy. I've got mine over in my sink to put my eggshells in later. That way it keeps it off your counter and saves you the cleanup mess later. Just a little tip for you. And there's my salt and my baking soda. And all you want to do is lift that up and knock the side as you gently shake it, and all the ingredients should come through. If there's anything left, you can take a spatula or a little spoon and press it down to get it through. But you want to go gently, you don't want to overdo it so it doesn't go everywhere outside of your bowl. Bit of my baking soda was clumpy. What's left in here, because I'm using whole wheat pastry flour mixed with all-purpose flour, it's got a little bit of the wheat germs. I'm gonna actually toss that into my compost bowl. You could add that in if you want to as well, but I'm gonna go for a smoother cookie. Go and set that aside. I'm gonna clean my workspace. The next step of what we're gonna do is very important. You want your butter to be soft, not fresh out of the fridge. And truthfully, you don't wanna melt it if you can help it, but if you have no choice but to melt it, then you can let it cool down for a while and let it get back to room temperature. But you want it to be soft because the heat of freshly melted will kind of melt your cookie and it'll spread out and be more thin and won't rise as much. It's just not as good. But your butter, if it's cold, it's not gonna mix well. So you need to have it room temperature. Best tip I can give you. I'm gonna pull my mixer out. This whole block of butter is equal to 2 sticks. 1 stick is half a cup, so this together is 1 full cup. To that, we're gonna add our brown sugar and our granulated sugar. Start this on low. After I plug it in, that would help, huh? I'm gonna start this on low. Raise it up a little. Okay, so what we've done at this point is we have just used the mixer to mush the sugar into our softened butter, and this is a good starting point, but now what we need to do is get it to the creamed phase, and it's going to fluff it up and make the butter softer and just incorporate those two together even more. So I'm going to put this on high and let it go until we have the creamed look that I'm looking for, and I'll show you what I'm talking about when we get there. I'm going to stop it real quick and scrape the sides of my bowl. Make sure it all gets incorporated in this process. then start it back up again. scrape it again. And actually we're gonna go ahead and call it right there. You can see how soft and incorporated the butter and the sugar look together. So at this point we're going to add our eggs and our vanilla, get those incorporated, and then we'll start adding our dry ingredients. These eggs are from our chickens, so I'm going ahead and cracking them into a dish to make sure they're okay before just adding them to my cookie dough. All right, I'm back with clean hands. Let's mix those in. Now for this part, I'm gonna go ahead and add my shield on here to keep the flour in, but you wanna do this a little bit at a time, and you wanna go on a slow speed because your flour is dry, it's gonna fly everywhere. It doesn't really matter per se what size you use. I just grabbed the smallest one so that it easily fits inside the opening of my shield, but this is a 1/4 cup measurement. It works very easily to go in there. Let it kind of start incorporating. It does not have to be fully incorporated in, just starting to mix in, add your next scoop, keep going on there until you get to this point where you can still see flour. This is not fully mixed, but it's well incorporated enough to where flour isn't gonna go flying everywhere on you. Scraping the sides on a bowl this big really helps to not have dry spots and super wet spots. This has a little bit extra egg and vanilla on it, so you get all that mixed in well. Scrape off my spatula on this mixer attachment and carry on. Now I'm going to ramp up the speed a little bit more. There we go, we've got it all mixed up. So I'm gonna lower this down, pull off my attachment so I can scrape it, and pull that off. Now that we have our attachment piece off, I'm going to go ahead and push the dough out of here so we can use as much of it as we can. Back when I was a kid, we used to lick this off. You do what you want to, no judgment here. But don't yell at me if you don't think it's right. You do you in your own home. Now because of the shape of this bowl, it's got this like indentation up the middle bottom part of it. There is still a spot down here that wasn't getting hit. You can see it right down here. It's still dry compared to the rest. So what I need to do is scrape this in and just mash it in to incorporate it the best that I can so we don't have all that dry mix. It should not take much at all. If you're only doing a smaller batch and it's not enough for this big of a mixer, this is the 6-quart KitchenAid, by the way, then you can always use a regular bowl and a hand mixer. It'll do great. Here we go. Now we got a nice mix and we can add in our chips. I'm using dark chocolate chips from Azure for this. And I'm opting to add some of my colorful chips that they sell. These are the older ones. You can't get them anymore, but had a few left. They can't guarantee that they're non-GMO anymore, so they sourced these new ones. But the food coloring is like all natural stuff, good ingredients. They're really good. Thought I'd add those in today. Once you have your chips added in, you're going to just scrape the side and fold them in, kind of push. You don't really need to do this with the mixer. This won't take long at all. You're just kind of scooping from the bottom, getting it to fresh dough and mashing it in until it's well incorporated. That looks beautiful right there, and I love the little pops of color from those chips. I can't wait to try these. For our next step, we need to scoop them out with a cookie scoop or a spoon, that works too, onto our baking sheets so that we can throw them into the oven. Now that we got our dough all assembled, I've got 2 cookie sheets over here. They're stainless steel, and I put on some parchment paper on top. I crumpled it up and then spread it back out so that it won't roll up on you and be a pain in the rear while you're trying to work. And then I've got my cookie scoop here that I'm going to use. I don't know what size it is. I've had this thing for so long and it's not marked, but I'd guess 1 inch to 1.5 inches. But it works really well. It's a good quality cookie scoop. You don't want to get those that have that rubber on the side, even though they feel more comfortable, because I've had problems with those, the cheaper ones anyway, of that popping out and then it's hard to clean and all that kind of stuff. So simple is better overall. I'm going to take, actually before I get started scooping, I'm going to scrape off my spatula. Don't want to waste any of that delicious dough. And again, if you want to let somebody lick that off, leave a little bit more on there for them. If not, scrape it off and wash it. So I go through and I scoop, scrape it along the side to get the extra off. And you're going to put 12 per sheet on this side. So you're going to go 3 across and 4 this way. And I just kind of start in the corner, work my way around. Swap these trays. You don't want to fatigue yourself while you're working and having to reach way far over. Doesn't sound like it'd be bad, but if you're making a whole bunch of cookies, that's going to wear you out further. If you have injuries with your back, it's going to wear you out further, that kind of thing. So work smarter and don't hurt yourself. It's a good idea to set yourself up with good habits because muscle memory is so huge on cooking. And you want to set yourself up for your future self so that you're already used to doing it a certain way and you don't have to worry about relearning it later in life when you're already tired, and you can just get it done with ease compared to having to relearn, and it throws you off out of your groove. So work smarter now and you'll thank yourself later. If they don't want to lay right, you can always pick them up and move them real quick. I am going to call it with how little is left here. That's not going to make another full tray. So I am going to leave that for later. You can wrap this up and put it in the freezer for having just a few cookies in the future, or y'all can eat the dough. Whatever you want to do, you make your own choice. We are going to pop these cookies into the oven and then pull out our cooling racks for when they're done. These need to bake for 8 to 10 minutes. I find the first batch, if you're doing multiples, usually takes a little bit longer, so these will probably actually bake for about 12 or so minutes. But keep an eye on them. You don't want them to go too far. Here are 2 of my cooling racks. I'm going to set them off to the side, stacked for the moment, because I'm going to put my hot cookie sheets on here when they come out and let them cool for just a few minutes before I start removing them to the cooling racks. These look like they need to go a little bit longer. See how pale they still are, and they're really going to be soft. So let's let these go for 2 more minutes and check on them again. There we go. That looks much better. Let's pull these out. I'm going to check on the ones on the bottom too. They were looking less done than these. All right, let's leave those in for 1 more minute. They're very, very close, but I think another minute will do great. I used to be really, really bad when I was in my younger years learning how to cook about making things and just walking away. I have learned, use your timer. It will serve you, because I'll walk to sit down and take a break and then I will forget it and it will burn or go to whatever. I'll leave the oven on, something. So use your timer. It will bless you tremendously. Can't stress that enough. Turn off our ovens so we don't forget those and walk away. I'll go ahead and start putting these on the cooling rack. It doesn't really matter what order you go in as far as removing them. I just kind of start in the middle where I can, where it's easiest, and then it gives me a little bit more room to scoop. But really, if you mess one up, are you really losing anything? No, you're really gaining your sample to pick from. You can just make that your taste test example. There's no loss there. But letting them set up that minute or two before you start removing them, they'll toughen up, they'll harden up, not be quite so soft. If they're still too soft, you probably underbaked them. They're still edible, but that'll help you know for the next time, the next batch that you make, to let them go a little bit longer. Because I'm not making more batches, I could reuse this if I was, and I would, and I have, do it all the time, but I'm done with this one now, so I'm gonna throw it away. And now this cookie sheet, once it is cooled off, is ready to be put away. We don't have to worry about putting it in the washer or anything, it's just ready to go. I'm gonna put this one on top of the empty one now for space saving. Use your pot holder, it's hot. There we go. And now these have set up and they're ready to go. If they meld together like these do, you can just do a little push with your spatula like that. They'll separate a little bit easier. All right, we'll throw this one away. Let these cool just a few more minutes and then the family can start digging in. Well, there we have it. We made 2 dozen chocolate chip cookies for the family, and I am gonna go sit and relax and have my cup of tea. Thank you so much for joining me in the kitchen today, and I hope that I was able to teach you some things that you didn't know and encourage you to try new recipes. The basic steps are there when you're needing to do the creaming style of cookies or baked goods, and it's just a matter of getting those things done and the rest falls into place. And if you make a mistake, it's no big deal. They're still edible cookies and you can just make another batch and try again. No big deal. And these are an awesome, easy recipe. So I highly encourage you to try them if you haven't already. They're really, really good. And doing them from scratch lets you know what ingredients you put into it, and you can control that and make healthier goods. And I say healthier. They're treats, obviously, for your family. So thanks again for joining me in the kitchen, and I hope y'all have a blessed day. Bye.